discuss some more topics in national income accounting. So the last class we discussed what is the difference between domestic income and national income is net factor income from abroad. That is, I underlined NFIA. Why? Because in our upcoming session we will be telling NFIA. NFIA means net factor income from abroad. This short form we will be using NFIA for every aggregate, or for every variable I will be using the short form. So you have to be very clear about that. That is, NFIA stands for net factor income from abroad. So net factor income from abroad is the difference between domestic product and national product, or domestic income and national income. So what is NFIA? That is what we are going to discuss first. So difference between net factor income from abroad, it is the difference between factor income from abroad and factor income to abroad. Is it visible? So NFIA, or net factor income from abroad, is the difference between factor income from abroad and factor income to abroad. So factor income, what is factor income? We discussed in our last class, right? Factor income is earned income. It is the income that is earned by the factors of production for rendering their services in the production process, like land, labor, capital and organization. These are the factors of production, and for rendering their services in the production process they are remunerated like wages, then interest, profit and rent, right? So these factor income that is coming from abroad and the factor income that we are paying to abroad, the difference between these two is known as NFIA, and NFIA is the difference between domestic income and national income. If we add NFIA to domestic income, we will get national income. The procedure and all we will see how it is. First we will make sure what is factor income from abroad and factor income to abroad. So here it is, factor income from abroad. Factor income from abroad is the income earned by normal residents of a country from the rest of the world in the form of wages, salaries, rent, interest, dividend and retained earnings. So one by one we will discuss. Factor income, it is the income earned by the normal residents. Earned income means it is factor income, right? Earned by who? The normal residents. So what is normal resident also we discussed in our last class. So we are taking into consideration, or we are adding up what is the income that is earned by normal residents of a country from the rest of the world, not within the domestic territory, but from the rest of the world, how much they are earning. So it can be wages and salaries. For example, a person working in a foreign company in Dubai, so if he is a normal resident. If he is non-resident, we will not add his income. If he is a normal resident, we will add his what is the wages and salaries received by that particular person. Or if a person is having a land abroad, it is owned by normal resident of our country, right? So he will be getting, so he rented it for, if say for example, if one person is having an apartment in UK, so he was living there, now he returned to India, but he didn't sell that property. It is now also it is in his name, so it is his property. He is a normal resident of our country, and for the ownership, what he is doing is he is lending it for rent at that country. So a person is paying him rent. So how much is the rent that is received for that particular property which is located outside our domestic territory? England is not our domestic territory, right? So such kind of incomes that is received by our normal residents we will be taking into consideration in order to calculate factor income from abroad. Likewise, interest, if he is having any investment there, then he will receive interest from that particular investment. And dividend and retained earnings. Retained earnings means in your accountancy you study about retained earnings, I think, right? So retained earnings means it is undistributed profit. That is, a company after earning profit, what is the part which is kept undistributed, that is known as the retained earnings. And dividend, which is the profit that we are getting, right? So the profit can be either dividends or retained. It is distributed, whereas retained is undistributed. So these two kinds of, if I am making an investment in a foreign company, a US based company, I am investing some money. So for that investment they will give me the profit share, which is known as the dividend. So such kind of dividend also we will take into consideration. That is meant by factor income from abroad. So Factor income from abroad is the income that is earned by normal residents of a country from the rest of the world. This term is more important, that is rest of the world, not from within our domestic territory, but outside our domestic territory. If we are earning something, if a normal resident is earning something in the form of all this, we will be adding up, which will give us the factor income from abroad. Next we will see what is factor income to abroad. Likewise, so many what to say, non-residents, right? That is normal residents of other countries. They will be earning something. If a US citizen, he is having a company in India, so he will take the profit with him, right? So factor income to abroad, factor income paid to abroad, it is the factor income paid to the normal residents of other countries. So here normal residents of our country, whereas to abroad means it is the income paid to normal residents of other countries. Usually we will say non-residents, right? So what is the income that is earned by non-residents in our within our domestic territory? That is what is mean by factor income to abroad. So India, for example, Kannur is coming under our domestic territory, right? So in Kannur, a person is owning a property, okay? A US citizen he is, so he purchased an apartment here, and he is lending it for lease to someone else. So he have to pay rent to the US citizen. So how much rent he is paying to the person who is a non-resident? US citizen is not our resident, he is a non-resident. So we will be making payments to non-residents also. So that is known as factor income to abroad, and if we take the difference between these two, we will get what is known as net factor income from abroad. Okay. So next is NFIA can be, yes, it can be positive, negative or zero. Yes. So it is written no positive, where factor income from abroad is greater than factor income to abroad. That is, our residents are earning more income than what we pay to others. Okay. So when the incoming is greater than the outgoing, we will say that we are having a positive NFIA. So our normal residents are bringing into our country more income than what we are paying to what we are paying to the non-residents of our country. So here if it is 10 lakh and here is if it is 20 lakhs, factor income from abroad is 20 lakh and factor income to abroad is 10 lakh. So what will be NFIA? We will minus these two, 20 minus 10, right? So 10 lakhs is the NFIA. So it is positive figure. This is one more question you can expect from this portion, that is when NFIA can be positive or when it can be negative or when it can be zero. Okay. So when NFIA, when will it be positive? If factor income from abroad is greater than factor income to abroad, then NFIA will be positive. And when it can be negative, that is factor income from abroad is less than factor income to abroad. That is, our residents are earning only less than what we pay to others, right? The non-residents, their earnings are greater than the earnings of our own residents, that is normal residents. At that instance, NFIA will be negative. So the foreigners, that is the Indians, the normal residents of India working abroad, they are earning only 10 lakh. But if we are paying 20 lakh to non-resident people, that is US, UK or Japan, whatever it may be, they are working in our domestic territory and they are earning income which amounts to 20 lakh. In this case, factor income from abroad is less and factor income to abroad is greater, right? In that instance, net factor income from abroad will be negative. Okay, when it can be zero, when both are equal. And one more instance is there where NFIA will be zero. When is it? There will not be no net factor income from abroad. What is the situation? If there is no external trade, right? If there is, or if the economy is a closed one, it has no economic relation with other parts of the world. When we will be telling an economy a closed one, it is not having any trade relation with any other country, right? So in that instance also NFIA will be zero. That is, nobody is going outside and nobody is coming inside our country also. So in that instance also NFIA will be 0. So these are all about net factor income from abroad. So in your practical, that is a problem part, if you want to find out the difference between domestic income and national income, the thing that you have to notice is net factor income from abroad. So this way you can find out net factor income from abroad. You have to see what is factor income from abroad and what is factor income to abroad. Take the difference between these two, you will get what is known as net factor income from abroad. So we will explain this with the help of an example also. So look at this picture. So look at this picture. So this is we indicate with the map of India the domestic territory of India. Is it a, or is it the only domestic territory of India? So here if we are having this is North America and South America, right? If Indian embassy is located in these parts, then it is also domestic territory of India, right? If Air India is operating flight between these two countries or between Australia and Africa, if they are running flights, then it also comes under the domestic territory of India, right? So if we are taking into consideration the domestic territory, so here is a normal resident of India and he is a non-resident, right? He belongs to UK. Okay, so if we are taking into account, or if we are adding the income earned by normal resident and non-resident within the domestic territory, it is the gross domestic product. So domestic is given there here. So what is meant by gross, we will discuss later. So domestic means without considering whether he is a that is resident or non-resident, we are calculating the sum total. Okay, so whatever be produced or whatever is earned within the domestic territory by resident and non-resident, if we are calculating, it will give us the gross domestic product. So no distinction we are making between whether he is a resident or he is a non-resident. All income, which is all the value of goods and services produced within the domestic territory, if we are considering, it will give us what is known as gross domestic product. So this person or a resident, if he is working in Indian embassy in South America, then he is also part of domestic territory, right? So if in that case we are talking about gross domestic product, whereas look at this picture, the second one. Okay, here you can see that this is our domestic territory, and here so many other persons, that is Indian residents, are also here, right? So they may be working in say Indian embassy, or they may be working under any other foreign banks or something like that. They will be residing, means they will be working, but still they are residents of India. Okay, so under gross national product, we take into consideration what is the income earned only by the residents. Here non-residents we are not calculating. That is why even if it is within the domestic territory, we are not calculating what is his income. Why? Because he is a non-resident. Okay, he does not belong to India. He is a non-resident. So we will not include his income in gross national product. Even if it is within the domestic territory, we are not taking it. Why? Because he is not a resident of India. So what he is earned, that we will deduct from this gross domestic product. So we will get what is gross national product, and also we will add these many incomes that is made by these many persons, right? So here are working rest of the world, not within our domestic territory, but rest of the world. They can be they can come under our domestic territory if they are working in like ships or aircrafts, if they are working, or if they are working in Indian embassy or consulates, they comes under the category of normal resident, right? If at all we will, that is if they are normal residents of India, then we will add up what is the earning made by these many people, these 15 people who are standing outside India's political boundary, right? So we will add up all these income, which will give us factor income from abroad. So all the persons who are working outside our country, that is, but still they are resident, no need to, that is not compulsorily working within the domestic territory, They can work anywhere, but they must be a normal resident of India. Normal resident in the sense that their economic interest lies within the country, and right. So we will add up these, the income what is that is earned by these many persons, so that which will give us factor income from abroad. And what is his earning, that is he is a non-resident, so what is his earning, that we will deduct, which is known as a factor income to abroad. So we will take the difference between these two and will add up to gross domestic product, then we will get gross national product. So that is the difference between domestic income and national income, which is explained with the help of NFIA. Yes, so that is all about net factor income from abroad. We will take the difference between factor income from abroad and factor income to abroad. So factor income from abroad is it is brought about by all these persons. They are bringing income inside India, right? And this person, this particular person is taking something to his own country. He is a non-resident. So that is known as factor income to abroad. If we take the difference between these two, we will get what is NFIA. So that is all about net factor income from abroad. I hope it's clear. We will move on to the next concept, that is net indirect taxes. So national income we can express in terms of factor cost or market price, and the difference between factor cost and market price lies in what is called the net indirect taxes. Again, I underlined NIT. Why? Because in our upcoming sessions we will be telling it as NIT, not net indirect taxes. We will be telling it as NIT, and you have to understand that NIT stands for net indirect taxes. So what is NIT? NIT or net indirect taxes refers to the difference between indirect taxes and subsidies. So it is the difference between indirect tax and subsidy. So what is an indirect tax and what is a subsidy, that we will discuss. So one person I'll ask, what is indirect tax? Tax is not a new term to you, right? So whom I can ask? Siddharth. Tax you heard, I think.
Madam, tax means money paid to the government.
Yes, very good. That is the money paid to the government, right? Is it unilateral or bilateral? Is it factor income or transfer income?
Transfer income.
Transfer income, right? Very good. So it is transfer income. Why? Because it is unilateral. That is people, that persons or individuals are paying taxes, but the government in return is not paying anything, right? So it is factor income. So the taxes can be direct or indirect tax, right? So here we are taking into consideration only the indirect taxes. Indirect taxes means, indirect tax refers to those taxes which are imposed by the government on production and sale of goods and services, right? So it is imposed upon the production and sale of goods and services, not upon individuals. For example, income tax. So many that is parents, or your parents will be paying income tax, right? So that is known as direct tax. Because why? Because it is imposed upon a person. That is, I am earning income, so the government is imposing tax upon my income, or I am an individual, right? So if the government is imposing a tax on an individual, it is known as direct tax. Where if the government is imposing tax upon the sale and production of goods and services, it is known as the indirect tax. For example, GST. You know what is goods and services taxes, right? For every, if you purchase a product, whether it be a toothbrush, whether it be a soap, or whether it be a mobile phone or a laptop, in the bill, in the price of the product, you can see that, or if you turn the packet of a, what to say, mobile phone, you can see that it is price inclusive of all taxes. If it is not mentioned in the box, in the bill you can see GST, this much amount, right? So every product that we purchase from the market includes a tax in it, that is known as the indirect taxes, right? So indirect taxes refers to those taxes which are imposed by the government on production and sale of goods and services. So whenever we produce and sell goods and services, we have to pay taxes to the government. A very good example is GST, right? So if you have purchased a laptop or a mobile phone recently, if you have the bill, take and check whether GST is included in that or not. You can see a separate row for that GST, this much, right? So that is the indirect taxes. What happens when indirect taxes are imposed, that we'll see. Indirect taxes increases the price of the product in the market, right? So before taxes, price will be lesser, and after including taxes, price will be more. So every time when indirect taxes are imposed, it increases the price of the product in the market. So understand this much. Next we will move to subsidies, right? Subsidies are the economic assistance given by the government to the firms and households with the motive of general welfare. So government is also, so this indirect tax, the persons or individuals or the citizens, they are paying to the government bodies, and in return government will also pay some money to the households or firms in the form of subsidies. A most familiar example to you is the LPG subsidy. If you ask your mother or father at home, they will say that if they are purchasing LPG cylinders for your household need, they will they will get LPG subsidy in their bank account. Okay, if they didn't give up LPG subsidy, they will get subsidy for the LPG. If we are paying 900 rupees for a cylinder, 300 rupees will be given back to us by the government. Why? Because it is for general welfare only, that is for reducing the price of that particular product, right? So subsidies reduces the market price of the commodity. So why we are discussing these things, why we have to know what is indirect tax and what is subsidy? It is mainly because this net indirect taxes is the difference between factor cost and market price. We will be calculating national income by taking the sum of what is the value of goods and services produced by various sectors, right? So the value, it can be expressed either at factor cost term or at market price term. So which one will be higher, market price or factor cost? Anukrishna, which is greater, factor cost or market price?
Ma'am, market price.
Market price will be higher, right? But all the time it need not to be right. Why? Because market price can be, or it can be lesser when subsidies are more than the indirect tax. That is when difference between these two, subsidies are 1000 and indirect tax is only 500, then 500 extra will be there. At that time this market price will be lesser than the factor cost, but it never happens in the real world. In our real world situation, every time the what to say, national income expressed at market prices will be greater than that of factor cost. So answer is correct only. So the concept of NIT is important to differentiate between factor cost and market price. Factor cost means the amount paid to factors of production, and market price means the price at which the product is actually sold in the market, right? So that is why we have to discuss these things. So tell me what is NIT. I will give you some figures. You have to find out NIT and tell me. Okay. So whom I can ask? One second. Akhil, switch on your mic.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Indirect taxes 1000 and subsidies are 750. So what will be NIT? Answer. How much is 1000 minus 750?
And 250.
250. Yes, very good. So this way you can find out what is the net indirect taxes. So while solving national income related problems, you may have to find out what is NIT by taking, they will give you what is indirect tax, how much is indirect tax, and they will give you how much is subsidies. Okay. So for calculating NIT, just you have to take the difference between these two. Okay. So that is all about net indirect taxes, that is factor prices and that is factor cost and market price. So we will just move on to the next part. So methods of measuring national income. So I will show you a picture. You have to identify what it's related to. Okay. So what is this? Have you seen this picture? Gautam.
Madam, yes,
What
ഉണ്ട്.
is? Yes.
Madam, circular flow.
Yes, very good. This is circular flow of income, right? So circular flow of income, we saw that there are three phases of circular flow. That is production or generation phase is there, distribution phase is there, and disposition phase is there, right? Generation phase means here the firms are producing goods and services. This is the generation phase, and distribution firm means this value of this goods and services. They are distributing between the distributing among the households or the owners of factors of production. That is factor payments they are making, right? That is the income phase. Income they are getting back. So that is the distribution phase, and disposition phase means expenditure. The households are spending all the income that they receive in purchase of these goods and services, right? So that is the disposition phase. So from this, by if we take what is the income or what is the value of all the goods and services produced in the economy, we will get to know what is national income. Okay, so value of goods and services we can take in order to find out national income. Or second way that we can measure national income is by taking what is the income that is earned by various households. Okay, various factors of production, factor income we are talking about. Or we can take into consideration the expenditure that is made by persons. Why? Because a person's expenditure is another person's income. If I am spending 10 rupees for purchase of a product, that 10 rupees is the income for that shop owner, right? If I am going and purchasing a 1 kg of banana at rupees 50, my spending is 50, but that 50 rupees is income for the banana seller, right? So that way we can find out, if we add up the expenditure, then also we can find out what is national income. How? Why? Because spending of one person is income for another person. So these are the three methods or three ways in which we can calculate national income. So first one is, it is as the sum of total value of value addition in the economy. Value addition means generation phase, that is how much goods and services are produced. So here what we will be doing is, we will divide the whole economy into different sectors like primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. So primary stands for agriculture and related allied activities. Secondary means it is manufacturing. The tertiary sector means it is the service sector. So what is the value added in all these sectors, that is primary, secondary and tertiary sector? We will be taking the sum which will give us the national income. Okay. So first way of calculating national income is by taking the sum total of value addition in the economy. That is one way. The second way is the sum total of income generated in the economy. If we take the sum total of income, so here factor income we are talking about. So what is the income earned by all the households in the country, that we will be taking, which will give us the national income. And third one is as a sum total of expenditure on the final goods and services produced in the economy. So how much goods and services income is being generated, and the households are spending all this income on purchase of goods and services. By taking into account or by adding up all the spending or the expenditure made by the people, we can also measure national income. Okay. So these are the three methods. So there are three methods of measuring national income. First one is value added method. If we take the sum total of value addition, it is known as the value added method. Second one is the income method. That is sum total of income we are taking. That is why it is known as the income method. Then third one is the, here we are taking sum total of expenditure. So what the name can be? It is the Pranavya. What the name can be?
Ma'am, expenditure method.
Yes, very good. It is the expenditure method, right? So these three methods we can calculate national income. And one important point that we have to note here is, if at all we are proceeding any of these three methods, the final answer that we will be getting will be the same. We will get the same income, whether we are proceeding through value added method or we are using income method or we want to use expenditure method. Any of these three methods we can make use of, but final answer that we are getting will be the same. Okay, that is known as the national income identity. We saw it while we discussed about the circular flow of income. That is value added is equal to income is equal to expenditure, right? So the answer that we are getting by value added method will be equal to that of income method, which will be equal to the expenditure method. same answer you must be getting. So in your examination, certain items will be given to you and you have to use any of two methods they will be asking, that is find out national income using value added method and expenditure method, or it can be income method or value added method. And how you can verify that your answer is correct? One way is that both the method you have to get one answer only, so you can fix that your answer is correct. If anything is different, is any difference is there, then you have done a mistake, somewhere you went wrong, you have to recheck your answer. So keep it in mind, whenever we measure national income using any of these three methods, final answer that we are getting must be same.